Sure.
A lot of backlash today, Senator, after the White House admitted to flagging social media posts it deems misinformation, as well as asking Facebook now to help police those posts. Press Secretary Jen Psaki dodged a question on the specific posts, and it wanted Facebook to remove, and if that will be made public. Watch.
First of all, we've not asked Facebook to block any individual posts. The way this works is that there are trends that are out there on social media platforms. You're aware of them. It's up to social media platforms to determine what their application is of their own rules and regulations. And so we just certainly raise where we have concerns about information that's inaccurate.
I'll add this quick in. President Biden walked back those original claims that he had that Facebook is killing people with misinformation.
Facebook isn't killing people. These 12 people are out there giving misinformation. Anyone listening to it is getting hurt by it. It's killing people. It's bad information. My hope is that Facebook, instead of taking it personally that somehow I'm saying Facebook is killing people, that they would do something about the misinformation, the outrageous misinformation about the vaccine.
So he went back to blaming 12 people. We don't know who they are. Are they keeping lists of Americans that they think are wrong or don't agree with? Lots of questions. Critics ripping Biden's total 180 on the issue. One tweeted this: not the administration's finest hour. Another: you shouldn't take me calling you a murderer personally. And another asks, so was the previous statement misinformation? Senator Cruz.
Listen, the Biden administration believes in power. They want to have the power to silence you. They want to have the power to silence any criticism. I got to admit, for a politician, if you could have all your critics simply disappear and unable to criticize you, that might be pretty nice. It's contrary to the Constitution. It's contrary to the First Amendment. It's contrary to a free democracy. But the Biden administration is getting big tech to be the arm in silencing critics. And by the way, what they call misinformation very conveniently always benefits Democrats, always benefits Joe Biden. They've been wrong over and over and over again. So they got big tech, for example, to silence, to disappear, to block the New York Post for the story on Hunter Biden's laptop. Why? Because it was politically damaging to Joe Biden. We now know that story was true, but they called it misinformation. They also got big tech to block anyone suggesting that the Wuhan virus actually came from the Chinese government labs in Wuhan. It now, I think the preponderance of the evidence suggests that the virus escaped from a Chinese government lab, and yet big tech made that disappear. And one of the striking things, so it's interesting watching the Biden White House try to backstep a little bit from their statements last week, but what they have inadvertently done is they have strengthened President Donald Trump's lawsuit against big tech, against Facebook and Twitter and Google, because, look, what President Trump argues in the lawsuit is that they are violating the First Amendment by censoring Americans. The biggest argument they have in their defense is they're private companies, not the government, and the First Amendment only applies to the government. Well, there's an exception to that the Supreme Court has long recognized, which is the government can't use a private company to carry out a government policy. And here, this is what they're doing. Here, the Biden White House is asking the big tech monopolists, please silence, block, disappear any views we disagree with. And I think that's blatantly illegal. It's also an abuse of power that is really contrary to the principles that our country was built on.
Well, and we know that that's what's going, no matter what they say from the lectern now, because they originally told us that they get together regularly with these big tech corporations to talk about the misinformation in Facebook posts.
Well,
and by the way,
people,
I don't know if we know this, and we'll move on. I'll just ask this rhetorically. What happens if you get on one of those lists? Because I was posting on my Twitter, just little old me, I don't matter. But, you know, I'm not a billion Facebook users, obviously. Questions about the Wuhan lab leak. A year ago. Stickered, problematic, Harris Faulkner, problematic, whatever. What happens if you get on their list, Senator Cruz? How do you get off that list? And what does it mean when they go after those 12 people? If we can't even identify them as a journalist, I don't know how you hold them accountable if something goes wrong in their processing.
Well, they don't want to be held accountable. And big tech is asserting the power over all of journalism. If they could, they'd block all of Fox News. They haven't gone that far yet, but that's where they want to go. We've seen that they're willing to throw Donald Trump off of social media and claim completely unaccountable, arbitrary power. If they can do that to him, they can do that to anybody. And it is amazing, these so-called journalists at CNN, ABC, CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post, who just meekly go along with a handful of Silicon Valley billionaires, the modern oligarchs, like the Russian oligarchs. We have the Silicon Valley oligarchs, and the media is perfectly happy to have these billionaires determine who gets to speak, who doesn't, and what you get to say. It is the single biggest threat to free speech in America. It's the single biggest threat to democracy in America. I think we need to break up these big tech companies, and I think we need to stop them from censoring American citizens. They are out of control.